All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Ebonie, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Hanha with us. How are you, Hanha?
I'm good. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for connecting with us. She's connecting with us, you guys, on a weekend, and she is such a beautiful woman that does so much for humanity, and I really want her to talk a little bit about her experiences and to share with you how you can make your dreams a reality as well. Hanha, start off by talking a little bit about a motivational quote that really gets you going.
So I am a blogger and I blog over at Transparency Blog, which is a faith-based blog for Christian women. So my motivational quote is going to come straight from the Word of God. So mine is, and I call this like my go-to verse. It's like my life verse. It's 2 Corinthians 12:9, where it says, "But my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in your weaknesses." And so that's my go-to quote. No matter what it is that I'm going through, I always lean on that quote or that Bible verse, because it says in, I think, verse 10 that when you confess that you're like weak, that's when his strength is made perfect. And so we should confess all the more in our weaknesses, because when we are weak, we are made strong. So that's my favorite quote.
That is so beautiful, and that is so true, because I think that we start on this path of doing what we think is right for us and right for humanity, and it's a positive idea that's really going to bring people in, and we don't necessarily trust that we are going to be renewed with that strength that we need to continue along that path. And I was just recently talking to a lady that was saying that God gave her idea that he wanted for her to fulfill. Yeah. And at first she doubted herself, but what she realized in fulfilling this is that what she needed always appeared at the time that she needed it. And when she was most weak, she was given that internal strength to press forward. And I believe that if we stay in line with what we're supposed to be doing, then we're always going to find that he will supply us with what we need and with the strength to carry it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was like, I was agreeing with you. I think that's very true. And there's so many scriptures that talk about like how if you don't become weary in well-doing, you'll seek your harvest if you don't faint or if you don't give up. And so that's another scripture that I like really lean on, because anytime that you have something that you're really trying to accomplish or really trying to do, it can be so overwhelming, because most of the times the things that we want to accomplish, we don't necessarily feel like we're enough to do it, but God gives us every single thing that we need. We have everything that we need in order to accomplish that specific dream or that vision. And I've had several different experiences in my own life where I felt like I wasn't good enough, or I felt like my go-to phrase was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But as soon as I just decide to surrender and submit my emotions and the plans that I have to God, he always finds a way of just redeeming myself and then just showing me that he has it all together. Like all things work together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. So.
Yes, and it's not always going to be butterflies and rainbows and unicorns. So we're going to have those times that we're wondering, man, why do all these things keep coming at me, one after the other? What is going on? But we can press forward through it with his help. Can you talk a little bit about a time? And for those of you that are listening to Hanha today, if you stick around to the end, you will have an opportunity to get a complimentary gift that's directly aligned with what we're talking about today and discovering what your purpose is and how to enhance it. So definitely listen and pay attention to what she wants to share with us today. Talk about a time, Hanha, where maybe you didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel and you did have to overcome some obstacles and some external circumstances came into play that you weren't expecting. But at the end of the day, you were able to bring that goal or that dream to fruition.
I guess I can talk about my most recent experience with that, because I was, because my name, like the blog that I blog at is called Transparency Blog, I'm just very open about where I am and like where I feel like I'm going or what I feel like God's calling me to do. So right now I'm kind of in the midst of trying to figure out what that next career step for myself is. So ever since I was young, I've wanted to be a doctor. And so when I went to college, I took all the classes, I took the MCAT, I volunteered in all the extracurricular activities. I shadowed the physicians. But then when I came to applying medical school, I applied this cycle, but I was waitlisted at 2 schools, and I don't know, but sometimes you just kind of have that knowing or that sense, like, I don't think I'm gonna start this fall, which I wouldn't necessarily that I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was more of, there's been plenty of times where I would be overwhelmed, or I just would kind of sit in my little corner and cry because I had no idea what was supposed to happen next, because this was like the backup plan of the original plan. So the original plan was to start medical school as soon as I graduated from college, and I've been out of school for about 2 years now, working. So that's why I applied this cycle to hopefully start this fall. And so when that kind of came to the realization that I wasn't going to start, I was like, oh shoot, what am I supposed to be doing now? And so that was like the main thing. But overcoming that, I feel like I'm kind of still in that season of processing like what God is going to do next. And I feel like he's been teaching me a lot about learning how to trust him. Like, even though I don't necessarily know what's going to happen next, I can know that there are small details that are falling into place, and small doors are being open, and I can't be so set on my plan and my vision and what I think is supposed to happen, because I'll end up missing his best in my life. And so that is what I would encourage anyone to kind of take heart in, is like, if it isn't working out the way that you think it's supposed to work out, one door might be closing, but don't be so focused on that one door that you miss the other door that's open in your face. So for me, it's like small things that are happening, like with my blog, or with meeting people, or with opportunities that are opening up. And that's what I've been trying to focus more of my energy on, rather than like on my feelings and my emotions, and more on like the other things that bring in everything into perspective.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. I'm in a season of my own right now where there's uncertainty with certain things. And rather than me being frustrated and overwhelmed with not understanding what is going to happen, I'm just learning to just rest with what is actually going on right now, and being okay with that. Because if I stop living the life that I have right now, one day I'm gonna look back and be like, I was so worried about the future that I didn't really take note of all the good things that were actually occurring in my life in that season. So I missed out on all the life that I could have been living by being so future oriented. So I think that's a awesome season to be in, when you are growing and when you're strengthening your character for the seasons ahead. Because we're always going to have lessons. We're always going to have things come at us that we're not knowing what the outcome is going to be. And we have to know how to sift through that while still being grateful and enjoying our life where we are right now. So I love how you mentioned that. And I think that right there is something that many entrepreneurs need to wrap their minds around, because as an entrepreneur, we tend to be driven individuals that have a goal in mind. Some people set out a business plan, some people don't, but we tend to have an idea or a vision of where we would like to go, and it doesn't always happen that way. And sometimes we'll beat ourselves up if it doesn't. But resting in the process and understanding that quote unquote failures come and unexpected circumstances come, and it's not a straight path, is what's going to allow us to keep that endurance and keep our eyes set on just knowing that our vision is going to be impactful anyway. It might not happen the way that we want it to happen or the way that we initially planned, but it's going to happen anyway. And at the end of the day, impact is what's most important, not the necessary steps that you plan to get there, but just the fact that it happened, that you were impactful to a larger community,
No, I agree with you, because one thing that I was talking to my mom about, and I feel like this is just very common in terms of just life itself. So growing up, I played the piano growing up. So I would compete in like music competitions where I would have to go in, sit in front of a couple of judges and like play a piano piece. And something I was telling my mom was that, isn't it so interesting how I'm spending all this time, like hours and hours and hours and hours, like a week on the piano practicing for a 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute song in front of a room with judges. And I feel like that is just like what life is. Like we spend all this time preparing for this moment. So if maybe you're planning an event, maybe you're starting a business, maybe you're doing like all these different, maybe you want to be a doctor, whatever it is, you spend all this time preparing and being in this process for a limited amount of time of I don't know, destination.
Right.
Like planning a trip, like you spent all this time planning the trip, and then you spend like one weekend at the trip to have a really good time, but most of our life is spent in the process, and if we don't take the time to enjoy it, imagine how much of our life we're being wasted, or we're being discontent in the process for 3 minutes of what, like, joy. So I think that is like what you're so right about. What you're saying is we should take more time to enjoy the process and really not hate it, but appreciate it for what it's bringing, because it's going to bring growth. It's going to bring encouragement. It's going to bring our trust. Like, it's going to increase our faith. And so I like what you're saying. I totally agree with.
Yes, yes. And building our character and who we are as an individual is what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What would you say to people that don't necessarily have a strong support system? So they have a goal, they have an idea, but they don't necessarily feel like they have the people that can really be of support, or they have some people that will support their idea or their goal, but they don't know how to help them because it's not their lane. So they're completely clueless as to how to help them. What kind of encouragement or ideas of resources would you give to those people so that they can at least begin to make baby steps?
So I think number one is like spending more time with God. And I will say it, when it comes to doing something that you feel called to do, you don't need a ton of people around. Like, God or Jesus only had about 12 disciples to do
Right.
his on earth. And so I don't think we need a large support. I mean, we do need support. We need a network, but we don't need people giving ideas or advice or know-how in our life, because then it's very easy to get distracted with their opinions and their ideas, whereas like we should be focusing on the thing that God has told us to do. And so God will always have the answers, and it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation. Like, you have every single thing you need right now in this moment to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So whether that's, you may feel like you have lack, but if you have, and it says in scripture, like, he will supply every single one of your needs. So if you don't have it right now, then that just means that you don't need it. So you have what it takes to accomplish. He won't give you anything more than you can handle. And so if you're struggling with the support system, though, I would encourage, like, just practically, I want it to be clear about, seek God first, but practically, if you're looking for more of a supportive community, I mean, there's a ton of communities online that are like mastermind communities, or people that can be like-minded that you can talk with, and you only need like one or two to really bounce good ideas off of and kind of collaborate with them and help each other grow. But practically, that would be my encouragement, is to find, if you're in a church, maybe plugging in with a small group, or if you're in like a business community, maybe finding your local chamber of commerce. They always have like a ton of opportunities for you to go to the monthly meetings, or just go to different networking events, because you can't meet people if you're just sitting at home working on your own stuff all the time. So I would encourage you to get out and go to different places where you might have the opportunity to meet like-minded people. So
Yes, and I strongly encourage people to step outside of their comfort zone with reaching out to people that are strong in an area that you want to grow in, because they're going to be able to provide you with a lot of specific insight that your entourage over here doesn't really know a whole lot about, but this person has actually done it. So if they've done it, then they're going to be able to provide you with that very specialized knowledge that may help you. Because there is a tendency to rely on too many people's opinions, and then you end up more confused than when you first started. So you're exactly right. First God, and then just seeking out those individual people, those very specialized individual people that you can really connect with, that you feel comfortable with, and that can really offer you quality sound advice. I think that we could end up doing ourselves a disservice if we're networking with all these different people and have all these different avenues that we could go down. Then we're overthinking and overanalyzing instead of actually taking the steps forward in the direction that we should be going. So I think connecting with those people, but most importantly, first asking God for direction. Because as you said, you're only going to be given what you can handle, and he's always going to supply what you need in order to handle that specific assignment.
Yeah.
And that is so key. And I've often found that when I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, whenever I need something, I'll just kind of put it out there into the universe. Like, I need someone to help me with XYZ. And God always supplies. And the person that I needed shows up like 2 days later. It happens so frequently. So I think that if we put our trust in him and in the process, the things that are supposed to align will align.
Yeah. He's very strategic and very intentional. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing with your life.
Right.
Key is trusting him. The key is making sure you're seeking his kingdom first. And our job is really to just spend time with him and grow in our relationship with him, because it says in John, I think it's chapter 15, it talks about he is the true vine and we are the branches, and we can't produce anything outside of him. And so if you're time to spend time with God, that's probably why you're struggling to figure out what it is that you're supposed to do, because you haven't. So I think that's like my main encouragement. It's like, if God is always speaking, like through people, through, signs and billboards, like he'll talk through lipstick. He'll get a message across if he really needs to, but sometimes we miss, like, I love the quote that one of my mentors has said. She said, the only reason or the way that we miss God speaking is when we're not taking the time to seek him in it. So
yeah,
we'll always be talking. It's just up to us whether or not we want to open our eyes or hear what he's trying to say.
Yes. Hear it and actually receive it, because you can hear it and then say, oh, but, and then throw in a bunch of excuses.
Right. True.
So hear it and actually receive it too.
Yeah, you'll talk sometimes it goes with faith. Like, you have to really take the time to believe it in yourself, because you could have God saying all these things, but if you don't, like what you're saying is so key, like if you don't receive it, it won't produce, because it has to start in here before it can be produced out there. And so if you don't actually believe that God has like these great plans for your life, then 9 times out of 10 you probably won't do the work or do what it takes to actually create the things that you feel like he's called you to do, or the things that he's purposed you to do. And so you have to receive what he says. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah. What are your next steps? Because you definitely seem like someone that people should connect with. I think that we oftentimes say that we don't have anybody to help support us, but in all actuality, we do have people to help support us, but we're not always putting ourselves in a specific place where, I'm sorry, my son is interrupting me. We're not always putting ourselves in a place where we are surrounding ourselves with the right people to put us at the next step in life. So what would you say to people that they're in a location where they don't necessarily have close friends and family? They're online, but they're not forming the right connections, and they're not finding people that they could really collaborate with. And they feel like, okay, who is it that I can align with that is doing big assignments in life? Not so much people that are inspirational, because I feel like people can put up any kind of meme or positive message, but then you actually have the doers. And these are the type of people that I feel like you want to have in your circle. So I'm going to give people an opportunity to connect with you, because you're a doer. So yes. How would you suggest for people to connect with people that are actual doers and not just putting up positive messages and doing nothing with it?
Well, I think first comes with identification. You have to look around and actually see. Sometimes the first step is figuring out who the doers are, like sifting them out from the doers and then the talkers, but the thing about doers is, like, they will always be known by their fruit. So you will see things be produced outside. Like, you'll know the difference between the doers and the talkers, because the doers are actually, like, you actually see programs being built, or you see communities being built, or you see them actually having physical products that you can purchase and buy. And so those are the that you're going to want to talk to, but then also kind of niche it down and narrow it down. So find somebody that's doing something similar to what you're doing. And the thing about it is, like, a lot of people are more willing to help than you give them credit for. So sometimes you feel like, oh, I could never reach out to them. She has like all these followers. And 9 times And if you just send that random email and be like, I really need some help, or for me, I was asking this like huge brand person, like what video platform she used, and her team got back to me within 48 hours and told me. And so now I'm able to get what I need to get and go on my merry way. But I think we need to kind of remove the fear of, oh, they would never associate themselves with me, because they started exactly where we are. Who knows how long they were in our same position at one point. And so I feel like the people who are doers, because they're such doers, they know how much work it takes to get where they are. And so I feel like, I don't know yet because I haven't gotten there yet, but I feel like most part they want to help. And that goes back to like even just small things. Like if you're in school, like your professors, they want to help you. Like they want you to come to them and talk to them for office hours. Or if you're at your job and you want like a promotion, or you want to create new opportunities to grow your business, you can always go talk to your supervisor. I'm pretty sure they want to help you grow to be a better person. And so in any way, just don't feel hesitant or scared to reach out to somebody. And that would be my advice, to find the people who are doers. And then number two, find the people who are doing something similar that you want to create, and then take that extra step of reaching out to them and asking them questions.
Yeah, I've had some people that I went to high school with that reached out to me, and they were like, well, I didn't know if I should reach out to you and ask you this kind of question because you're like Miss Big Shot. And they didn't say big shot in those exact words, but what they said, it meant the same thing. And I'm like, I am just Ebony. You see me doing this stuff online with, these courses that I've developed and the podcast and YouTube and all that. But honestly, I am just regular old Ebony, okay?
I'm not about to talk about it if I'm not about to be about it. I'm not going to talk about helping all these people, and then when you ask me, I'm about to help you. So, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Those of you that did listen to the end, as I said, if you join my community, it's called Nutrition for Busy Women, Nutrition, the number 4, Busy Women. That link is in the description box. You'll have an opportunity to get a complimentary gift from me and also connect with purpose-driven women. So if you're looking for ladies to connect with online that are encouraging and inspiring, feel free to join us and share your story as well. And for anybody that's listening that does have a success story or some challenges that you feel like other women can hear about so that they feel like they're not all alone, definitely reach out to me and connect with Hanha. I know she's going to have some awesome stuff coming up, and she may want to collaborate with any of you listening. So please connect with her, follow her journey, and give her the encouragement and support that she deserves as well. And we'll make it a reciprocal relationship. We'll support you in your endeavors as well. You guys have an awesome rest of the day, and I look forward to connecting with you on another episode. And don't forget to live a life that's full of meaning and fulfillment and purpose. I'll talk to you guys soon.